You finally have a quiet evening. Nothing is wrong. No deadline, no conflict, no one waiting on you. And within minutes, something in you starts to itch. You scan the day for a mistake you might have made. You replay a conversation from Tuesday and quietly rewrite your half of it. You check your own mood the way you'd check a pulse, waiting for it to spike. The stillness doesn't feel like rest. It feels like a room that has gone suspiciously silent. And here is the part you've never said out loud, because it sounds insane when you try to. You are more comfortable when something is actually wrong. A real problem is almost a relief. At least then the unease has a name. At least then the watching makes sense. It's the calm that unsettles you. The good days feel like the pause before something arrives, so you keep the engine running. You pre-live the meeting that hasn't happened. You draft the argument no one has started. You solve problems that don't exist yet, just in case. People call you a worrier, an overthinker, someone who can't let things go. And somewhere along the way you started to believe them. You assume the flaw is in your character, that you're simply too much, too anxious, too sensitive to ever be at peace the way everyone else seems to be. But you've misdiagnosed yourself. What you're calling a personality defect is a setting, a threat detection system tuned a few degrees too high and then left switched on. Deep in the brain sits the amygdala, the structure that decides whether incoming information counts as danger. In most people, it flares and then settles. In a brain like yours, it runs hot and idles high. The sympathetic nervous system, the branch built for emergencies, never fully powers down. Cortisol holds at an elevated baseline, and the stand-down branch, the parasympathetic side that's supposed to say it's over, you can rest now, stays quietly suppressed. There's a network neuroscientists call the default mode network, the circuitry that switches on when you're not focused on a task. In most people, it idles. In yours, it overrevs, spinning through scenarios, simulations, replays of things already finished. This is close to what researchers call rumination, the mind returning to the same event again and again, not to solve it, but because the returning itself feels like work that keeps you safe. And underneath all of it sits a single logic error. Your brain has decided that the absence of a threat signal is not proof of safety. It's a gap in the data, a blind spot, and a brain built for survival will not tolerate a blind spot, so it fills the silence with the most useful assumption it owns, that the danger is simply hidden and you haven't found it yet. This is not weakness. This is a high-performance security system running with no off switch. The same sensitivity that exhausts you is the same sensitivity that catches what other people walk straight past. The hardware isn't broken. It has just never been allowed to stand down. Picture where that system actually lives. A tall circular watchtower, alone on a dark coast. Its walls are nothing but windows, a full 360 degrees of glass. Because a sentry post can't afford a blind side. There is no back wall to lean against. No angle that faces away from the threat. Every direction is the front. At the center sits a radar scope, a round green screen with a single line sweeping slowly around it, the way a clock's hand moves. When that screen is blank, it means one thing only: no contact, clear skies, safe. Along the wall, a board of warning lights sits dark and idle, waiting. The operator has two controls. One is a gain dial which sets the sensitivity of the radar. Turn it up, and the instrument strains to hear fainter and fainter things. The other is a stand-down lever, which powers the dish down and disarms the post. Here is the malfunction. When the screen goes blank, when the radar itself reports that everything is safe, the operator cannot bear it. A clear screen feels like a failure of detection, so his hand drifts to the gain dial and turns it up, and as the sensitivity climbs, the noise floor rises with it. Static blooms across the scope, and the operator, staring at that bloom of meaningless interference, reads it as something approaching and sounds the alarm. He has manufactured a threat out of silence. The all-clear is never reached, because the all-clear is the one thing he cannot survive. And the cruelest detail of all, against the far wall there is a cot. Rest has been available the entire time. The lever has been within arm's reach the entire time. He has never touched either. To him, pulling that lever feels like dropping his shield in the middle of a siege. So, how do you power the tower down? Not by sweeping harder, not by finally finding the contact that would justify the fear. The way out runs in the opposite direction from everything your instinct is screaming at you. The first move is to name the static as static. The next time the unease rises in a quiet moment, stop and ask one question. Is this a real signal? Or is this just gain? Is there an actual problem in front of me, in this room, in this hour? Or is my sensitivity simply turned up so high that it's reading noise as a threat? Most of the time, you'll find there is no contact on the screen. There is only the dial, and naming it strips the static of its authority. The second move is the exhale, because the stand-down lever is physical, not mental. You cannot think your way into calm, but you can breathe your way there. The parasympathetic branch, the off switch, answers most directly to a long, slow out breath. So make the exhale longer than the inhale. Draw the breath in for a count of 4, then let it leave slowly for a count of 6 or 7. Do that a handful of times. You aren't relaxing. You are sending a mechanical signal down the nerve that tells the body the siege is over. The third move is to give the scanner a cage. A vigilant mind will not sit empty, so don't ask it to. Set aside a fixed contained window, 15 minutes once a day, pen and paper, and let it scan to its heart's content inside that box. Write every worry down. Then when the scanning starts up outside that window, you tell it calmly that it has an appointment and this is not the time. You aren't suppressing the system, you're scheduling it. The fourth move is the hardest, and it is the whole point. You have to sit inside the all clear without acting on it. When the screen is blank and the alarm in your chest still insists that something is wrong, you do nothing. Don't check, don't fix, don't reach for the dial. Just stay and let the stillness be exactly what it is, and watch what happens, which is nothing. Nothing happens. And every single time you prove that to yourself, the tower learns that quiet is not the same as danger, and the lever gets a little easier to pull. But there's a complication, and you probably already felt it coming, because the first time you genuinely lower the gain, the first time the dish stops spinning and the tower goes truly quiet, something unexpected rises up to meet you. The scanning, it turns out, was doing a second job all along. It was keeping you too occupied to feel something sitting underneath it. And the moment the noise drops away, that thing is right there, waiting in the silence. The watching was built to drown out. That is the feeling that snaps your hand straight back to the dial. And it is the exact mechanism quietly breaking down in the video, already loading on your screen, the reason a mind like yours would rather stay exhausted than ever be allowed to rest.